It unveiled the design of the government's new ID cards. Each card will carry a picture, the person's name and date of birth, with a chip holding fingerprint records and other biometric data. Now, they're being introduced in November, first of all for foreign students and marriage visa holders. Speaking in the last hour, Jackie Smith has made clear that the cards unveiled today are just the beginning.
They will be followed next year by the first issue of ID cards to UK citizens who work in sensitive roles, in 2010 to young people, and then with a national rollout from 2011. We all need to be able to prove who we are quickly, easily and securely when travelling, when opening a bank account, when applying for a new job. We also want to be sure that others are who they say they are.
Now, I've been joined by Richard Fairbrass from Right Said Fred, who's opposed to ID cards. And I know that you are fundamentally opposing to the whole idea of them, but there does feel now as if there's a momentum. It's going to start. It's going to be impossible to stop.
Well, yeah, there seems a bit of a democratic shortfall in this country. Things just seem to roll on, no matter what you... It's rather like parking meters in your local borough. You know, they say, we'll ask you what you want. Everybody says they don't want them, and then the parking meters are there, you know.
The power of politics, obviously, here.
It seems there's this kind of deficit between what people actually want and what governments decide to do. I mean, having seen the picture you put on of me on the...
Do you like it?
No, I hate it. That's a very good reason for not having them. No, I think it's, you know, to use a corny expression, it's a thin end of the wedge, and I think that this country is sleepwalking into a kind of open prison mentality. We're becoming so obsessed with safety, so obsessed with risk aversion, so obsessed with identity, with perfection in every area of our lives, in a way, that we are sacrificing in the process the ability to be free.
Except, I suppose, in this day and age, in this sort of war against terror, I know that's a phrase we're not supposed to use these days, haven't they just subscribed to the idea that if this helps, that the government is doing something, whether they've moved the goalposts or not, it's worthwhile? Let's assume
that the war against terror was the reason. I personally think there's a mixture of reasons here. I think the Labour government in particular is obsessed with detail, obsessed with information, obsessed with knowing the minutiae of our lives. I think it's part of their DNA. But there are all sorts of other things about the security of this stuff. You know, is the data safe? Would it always be safe? Can we trust future administrations to use it properly? Can I verify it? I don't think I'll ever be able to verify what's on my biometric thing at all.
Well, they certainly haven't given detail about that. But, Andrew, do you think it is inevitable, despite these, you know, very justifiable concerns, particularly about security of that sort of data and the cost that people are worried about, is it justifiable?
Well, we know the governments are useless at keeping data.
But they've proved that quite...
exactly. So that is something that's really serious. But at the same time, there were 67,000 people who had their identity fraudulently used last year. It cost the United Kingdom £1.7 billion. And we've got 430,000 illegal immigrants in this country. So all in all, there are advantages to having a biometric system which you can't get out of, that either has your iris or your fingerprint or both, and which you can't have two people have the same card.
Hasn't there been a problem, though, with this moving of the goalposts? First of all, it was to sort of combat terrorism and terrorist suspects. Then it was to stop benefit fraud cheats. Then it's to stop immigrants. I mean, is it really going to do all these things?
Well, it's going to do all three. This is the point. If it's done properly, and never underestimate the capacity of government to muck something like this up. It's a massive project and perfectly capable of being screwed up.
Except it's not compulsory, of course, so you won't have to get one just yet.
No, but you know what's going to happen, don't you? You know exactly what's going to happen. In 5 years' time, it will be illegal not to have it on you. And there'll be a £70 on-the-spot fine. This thing, unless we stop these guys right now, this is going to be an absolute financial disaster, and I think a social disaster as well.
Thank you for coming into the studio.
Pleasure.